Let's get everybody in here. I'm sure everybody wants to congratulate Dennis Walcott on his spectacular time in the marathon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wow.
Quite all right. You owe me for this one.
I know. Thank you.
I was going to run, but I did not want to show you up.
I know. You wanted to be
So
respectful
I deliberately
of the Chancellor,
did not. That's correct.
It. I really always appreciate your support.
More seriously, education. In August of 2010, we launched a new effort. We think it's the most ambitious of its kind in the nation to reduce the number of public school students with dismal attendance records. And we call it Every Student, Every Day. Over the past 13 months, we've tried out a range of new strategies designed to prevent absenteeism. The strategies were developed by our interagency task force on truancy, chronic absenteeism, and school engagement, which is chaired by Leslie Cornfield, Leslie Wave, overseen by my Chief Policy Advisor, John Feinblatt. You want to wave as well? And includes members from the Department of Education and other city agencies. I don't think we all have to wave, but that's okay. All kidding aside, in barely a year, many of these strategies have made significant progress in reducing truancy and absenteeism. And today I thought we'd discuss some of those results and unveil the next steps we're taking to put more students on the road to success. I think it's important to note that as with all we've done to fix our school systems, improve health, and reduce crime in the streets, each of these truancy strategies is based on what the data has told us. And I've always said that numbers should guide our efforts, and that's certainly the case here. So first, let me talk about why this effort is so important. Our innovative school reforms have helped drive dramatic improvements in graduation rates and achievement rates. But as we work to take schools to the next level, there's one statistic we cannot ignore, and that is that nearly 1 out of every 5 students missed a month or more of school last year. That's 250,000 children. We just cannot sit back and accept these numbers because truancy is often the first step in the wrong direction. And the more school a child misses during the early grades, the more unlikely it will be for him or her to succeed in the higher grades. And we all know that if you don't succeed in school, your future is not as bright as it should be and could be. Just consider the fact that 3/4 of our students who miss more than 2 months of the 6th grade never graduate high school. And that is an unacceptable statistic. And truancy can also lead to other serious problems like teen pregnancy, substance abuse, and crime. And to prove the point, nearly 80% of those in our juvenile justice system were chronically absent from school prior to their arrest. Bottom line, we've got to reach students before it's easier to drop out than catch up. And that's why last year we created Every Student, Every Day. To begin with, we concentrated most of our energy on 25 schools that have had the highest rates of absenteeism, 10 elementary schools, 8 middle schools, and 7 high schools, including this one. We identified 1,500 students in these target schools who were chronically absent, and from the beginning of the 2010-2011 school year, we had teams of trained professionals and volunteer mentors helping them stay in school. Can we, papers, please? Okay. Our earlier data showed that when students with mentors significantly improve their attendance. But we wanted to make sure that this improvement was because of our mentoring program, so we also gathered data on a group of students with attendance problems who didn't have mentors. And I think you can see the results on this chart. It shows the impact during the 2010-2011 school year that mentors had on students who had been chronically or severely absent during the year. Chronically absent, by our definition, means they missed at least 1 month of school, while severely absent means they missed at least 2 months of school. Now, the green bars represent students who were paired with mentors. The orange bars represent those who didn't have mentors. And looking at the left side of the chart, you can see that chronically absent students with mentors were significantly more likely to improve their attendance than students who did not have mentors. And that's true at every level, elementary school, middle school, and high school. Specifically, nearly half of chronically absent elementary students who were paired with mentors improved their attendance to normal levels, and that's 14% more than those who didn't have mentors. Looking at the right side of the chart over here, At chronically absent students, we also see improvement, except in the middle school. This is the one place that it did not improve. This is a deviation in our results that we're exploring so we can better understand it. It may lead us to rethink how we deliver services to our middle schools. Middle schools, as you know, are often very problematic because the kids are going from certainly being young children to being adults, and it's a very difficult transition time, and so it has always been a great challenge in middle schools. But the most dramatic number, as you can see, happens in high school, where students with mentors outperform students without mentors by 123%. And this is especially encouraging because high school is where absenteeism is the most difficult to address. And so it's great to see such improvement in both chronically and severely absent students. Now let's just think for a second about what that means. On average, severely absent high school students were assisted by mentors, gained 25 extra days of school. That's 25 more days to learn important concepts, 25 more days to form stronger bonds with their teachers and classmates, 25 more days to develop vital learning habits that last a lifetime. Truancy is certainly a serious problem in schools here in New York City and all across the country. But the gains that our mentors have made within just 1 year, I think, prove that we're certainly on the right track and show that this is a problem that can be overcome or at least ameliorated. And that's why we're now expanding our mentoring efforts from a core group of 15 students to more than 4,000, something I pledged to do in this year's State of the City speech. A particular focus will be applied to students in the first, sixth, and ninth grades, which are critical transition periods where absenteeism has historically spiked. And this is especially true in the ninth grade, a middle school grade, where the problems of truancy often lead to higher dropout rates. To help these 4,000 students stay in school, we'll deploy 300 full-year mentors, some of whom have joined us today. They hail from an incredible range of organizations, including City Year, Reserve, Build On, Citizen Schools, the Children's Aid Society, the city's Department of Aging, the Princeton Center for Leadership, and Hunter College and NYU's School of Social Work. Each mentor will be responsible for advising and helping about 15 students. And as part of today's new set of initiatives, we'll also target an especially vulnerable group of students, those who are re-entering school after a lengthy period away, be it for suspension or for time in juvenile facilities, foster care, or homeless shelters. These students face their own unique challenges, which are elevated risk of missing school, have an elevated risk of missing school and dropping out. And that's why, as part of a pilot program in partnership with Reserve and the New York Community Trust, we'll deploy 10 mentors to 5 middle and high schools to guide students going through this difficult transition and to try to help them stay in school and succeed. There are a number of other innovative initiatives that our Truancy Task Force is launching or expanding today, including an incentive program in partnership with Macy's, which is generously giving $100,000 to support our efforts. And I just wanted to personally thank Macy's. You want to talk about a good corporate citizen. We all know how generous they are to put on the fireworks on the 4th and the parade at Thanksgiving. But Macy's is there all the time, and Terry Lundgren, the head of the corporation, all the employees of Macy's and their stockholders deserve our thanks. Let me have John Feinblatt now and Chancellor Walcott discuss the additional initiatives that we're doing in more detail. But just let me conclude by saying all of the programs we're discussing today will reinforce the expectation that every student should be in school every day. I don't know how you feel, but when I know someone's there waiting for me to show up, counting on me to show up, it makes a difference, and we think the mentors will do exactly that. The most important thing we can do for our children is making sure they're graduating from high school and ready to go to college or enter the working world. But to do that, they just have to stay in school, every student, every day. And with the help of these initiatives, we're going to make sure that that happens. So on that note, let me turn the floor over to the man who is leading our school reforms, School's Chancellor, Dennis Walcott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you very much for not just showing up, but really being a leader of this city and really doing an outstanding job in leading us. And we're very proud of working with all the agencies who are represented here today, our foundations, our community-based partners, and focusing on what we've talked about over and over again, and that's our students, and how we can make sure that our students are in school and in school on a regular basis. And today we're here at a great school. We're here at the High School for Teaching and the Professions, and our principal, Gary Prince, who I met several times, but most recently at Yankee Stadium with a young man who was part of this program last year, who graduated and probably would not have graduated without this program. And not just graduated and then went on to college. And there's a direct correlation to our announcement today and this young man and the students we'll be talking about as far as them being in school and not just being in school, learning in school and being ready to graduate and graduate college and career ready. And to me, that's the importance of this initiative. And as a result of the mayor's leadership, as a result of John and Leslie and all the agencies, we are working together to make sure that our students are in school and in school on a regular basis. And then with a new initiative that John will be talking about and the mayor mentioned, really focusing our efforts on students who have either been suspended or students who have been in some type of incarcerated facility to make sure their transition back is not just a smooth one, but one that benefits them educationally as well. And that's the key thing, making sure at the end of the day our students are receiving a quality education. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for, again, your leadership, but most importantly, we have to keep the emphasis on our students to make sure that they're in school on a regular basis, and reducing and eliminating those who are chronically absent and severely chronically absent, and making sure that they're getting a high-quality education. And as a result of this partnership, and as a result of the leadership of the people who are in this room, and especially our principal of this particular school, our students are able to get that education, improve themselves, and go on to be productive adults. So again, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Next, let's hear from John Feinblatt. He is my chief policy advisor who heads up our Truancy task force, and he's going to talk about some of the other steps we're taking to reduce chronic absenteeism. John?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Dennis. As both of the Mayor and the Chancellor said, the results so far are encouraging. It looks to us like mentoring can help move, not just improve attendance, but as this chart shows, actually move people from the status of chronically absent to normal attendance and move them out of severe chronic absenteeism as well. And because of these results, it's why we are forging ahead and doubling our investment. We think mentoring works, but it's not just that simple. Along the way, we think we've learned some things about mentoring. First off, it doesn't seem to matter as much as we might have thought whether the mentor is somebody young who's from AmeriCorps or whether they're a graduate social work student or a retired professional. What seems to matter most with our mentoring crew is that they all share some and adhere to a number of core components. And those are the importance of sharing data about school performance with mentors, the importance of having a consistent year-long relationship between the mentor and the mentee, the importance of the mentors working with the principals and the school leadership team so that they feel that they are part of the school leadership program, and obviously the importance of mentors and the school as a whole celebrating students' achievements. Now, with that success under our belts, we plan to make things harder on ourselves. And the way that we are going to do this, as the mayor said, is we're going to work with the toughest cases, and with the help of the New York Community Trust, and Joyce Bove's here today representing the trust and the organization Reserve, we are going to start to work with students returning from out-of-school suspension, returning from time spent in a juvenile facility, returning from prolonged illnesses, and returning from foster care. And anybody who knows this business knows that these are some of the most difficult circumstances to deal with. For those kids, and we are going to test this, mentors are going to need to do more than they even do now. They're going to have to help clear the path to graduation by recapturing credits, by transferring credits from the institutions that they've been in, and that they're going to have to make sure that some of the old problems that stood in the way of these kids being in school don't reoccur again. Because if they do, we're going to be back in the same situation we obviously were before with these kids. These aren't the only, mentoring isn't the only thing that we're expanding this year. We are also going to strengthen supports for chronically absent students right at the homeless shelters for those who are living in homeless shelters. We're going to start to work more aggressively with NYCHA to identify kids who are chronically absent in the community. And we're going to expand Wake Up New York City, our automated wake-up calls, which I have to tell you are far more popular than I think any of us would have ever predicted, both with schools and with parents and with kids. We've learned a lot, but I think the thing that we've learned the most is that this is tough. This is tough stuff to be able to work on. But we know that it will be even tougher for the city and for kids and for families if we don't act right now. Thank you.
John, thank you. I'd now like to ask the principal of the school, Gary Prince, for his comments. Thank you for hosting us today, Gary. You should know that under his leadership, this high school has reduced chronic absenteeism by 17.5% this year alone, and I'd like him to describe those efforts for us, if you would. Okay.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming to our campus. This is an honor, it really is. But I have to tell you that when we came into this pilot program in the summer of 2010, the most important thing that hit me was the way we look at attendance and chronic absenteeism, that it wasn't a reactive type of program that we were getting involved with. It was more of a proactive type where we started these relationships early on in the summer months. We've identified it through the data processes that the DOE and the Mayor's Office has given us this data. We had 160 students identified early on in the summer. And we invited our families and parents and students to these parent summits over the summer. And we started those student-mentor relationships early on. And the key to success, in my opinion, is that these relationships are ongoing and they start from the very beginning, that we don't let students get to the point where there is no return. And these mentors, and I have to tell you that we have 10, and they're in the audience here, and the work that they did last year was phenomenal. It really changed the culture of our school and how we dealt with attendance. We meet on a weekly basis and we track our students to see their progress. And if they're not progressing, or even if they are progressing, the idea is to reinforce that positive behavior. The way it works here is that negative reinforcement is a short-term lived response, and the only way we can change behavior in the long run is to capture those moments when students are exhibiting positive behavior. So these mentors are there, not only there for them academically, but socially, and to help them get through all the things that are difficult in their lives to get to school. It could be relationships at home, it could be relationships with teachers in the classroom. All these things, these mentors go to lunch with them, they see them in the hallway, they visit their classrooms. So that relationship from the very beginning is a key factor to why this program works. The other thing that the opportunity that this pilot gave our school was an opportunity to meet with other schools that are in the program and share best practices and develop best practices. And now they're on the Department of Ed website, and it's available to all schools. So it's this thing that we're doing now it's tremendous, and I'm so happy that it's expanding to other schools. I've already had principals from other schools down the block, Clinton High School, for example, meeting with me and talking about what we're doing here and sharing these best practices. One last exciting thing I want to talk about is that in the spring last year, we started a peer-to-peer mentoring program here where we had students that are being trained by one of our community-based organizations, Build On, as becoming mentors. Their student ratio is much smaller than ours. They were working with 1 or 2 students, and the statistics from that particular activity was better than what we did as adults, to be honest with you. So this relationship from the upperclassmen working with the lowerclassmen, the 9th graders in this case, that exhibited chronic absenteeism during that transition period turned out to be extremely successful for us, and we're starting that this year early on. We have 30 mentors being trained at this time, and they're developing these relationships. So again, it's a great way of looking at attendance. I believe in positive reinforcement, and I think that's why this program works. So thank you very much.
Gary, thank you. Our next speaker is Derek Williams, who's hiding behind the chart here. He is a Hunter College graduate student who mentored high school students last year. Derek can talk to you. Can you talk about your experiences a little bit?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Yeah, 20 years ago, I was a chronically absent child. So it's amazing that I would be able to give back with the knowledge and experience that I had being a chronically absent child. It was the 80s. Crack was king. I lived in Marcy Projects, where Jay-Z grew up. A lot of his stories was my stories. I was into a lot of that stuff, and school became not too important to me anymore. And the thing that really stood out was nobody came and looked for me. No one. My mom was a good mom, but she was so busy. And the social problems, made it very hard for me to get to school. So I was this close to dropping out. And I had someone step into my life. It happened to be a pastor. And it was that moment that I became back on track. I got out of the derailment and I got back on track. So I look at the intervention that got me back, and I look at that as I was a success mentor last year, how the kids really needed an intervention. And I think this is what this program is all about. I had 15 kids last year, and I mentored them, and a lot of it was one-on-one, but also a lot of it was through focus groups. A lot of it was doing home visits. I also got into first name basis with the parents. I gave out awards. I sent postcards home. At first, the kids were like, "Who are you? Like, what's your agenda?" And the parents were the same way. But as the year progressed, they started to trust me, and I saw real gains. So it was a blessing to see that. And the only thing that I could say is during these under-resourced times, we need a resource like this for our kids.
Derek, thank you. Finally, let me introduce one of this high school students who is participating in our mentoring program. 12th grader Jean Robinson. Jean, you want to say a few words? Left, right, each one for 10 seconds.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jean Robinson, and I am a part of the Mayor's Attendance Project. I would first like to thank you, Mayor Bloomberg, for coming out and giving me the opportunity to tell you why being a part of the Mayor's Attendance Program has made a difference in my high school career. This program has really had an impact on me in the 2 years that I have been a part of it. My sophomore year, I came into this school and I was new. School wasn't really a big priority for me. I didn't come in with the class that I came in with, 9th grade, and I wasn't making a lot of friends and I wasn't really socializing with people, so school wasn't really a priority to me. I didn't feel like I had friends here. I didn't feel like I was wanted here, and so I missed out on many months, maybe a long time of my school year until the Mayor's program brought me into the light. The whole program, from the mentors to the morning wake-up calls, are brilliant and inspiring. Being part of this program gives me a sense of stability, and I feel like I am part of a family here at the High School for Teaching and the Professions. My mentor, Ms. Cabrera Young, is a friend, a mentor, a leader, and overall a great guide to me. She always checks up on me and asks me questions when I'm not doing so good, and is curious about my grades. I'd like to give a special thank you to my mentor, Ms. Cabrera Young. Overall, the Mayor's program is helping me in every way that I feel I needed to be helped, because having excellent attendance is a very important part of graduating on time. Mayor Bloomberg, your program has shown me that school is important, and now that I can probably say that the Mayor's program has helped me. Thank you.